All right, welcome everyone. This is Garden Buffalo Niagara's Pro Interview, which is part of Gardens Buffalo Niagara's month-long Garden Views online programming. My name is Emere Nieves. I am the owner of Gardeness, a subscription garden care company that focuses on organic gardening and native plants. And I'm also the community garden trainer for Grassroots Gardens of West New York. And I'm so excited to introduce you all to Miss Allison DeHonney, our interviewer. And she has over 20 years of professional experience in key areas of executive leadership, management, and business development in Buffalo, New York. She has her degree and master's in business from Medaille College and is a graduate candidate for the Certified Plant-Based Chef and Culinary from Rooksby Cooking School for October 2020. She has created Urban Fruits and Veggies and Buffalo Go Green Inc., which is a nonprofit, which is created, which is an urban farm, a mobile produce market that serves the food deserts and underserved communities, bring access to healthy fruits and vegetables and nutritional education. And they also sell at our local food farmers markets from June to October. And she also has within these organizations a corporate wellness division that is partnered with the City of Buffalo Parks Recreation Department and will help teach nutrition, education, and farming to our underserved communities. All right, Allison, so can you tell us a little bit why urban farming is so important?
Sure. So there are a number of reasons why urban farming is important. When I started the business and the not-for-profit, I thought that the most important thing was to bring access to healthy food options in underserved communities. But I quickly found out that there was so much more. And when we started our urban farm, which we'll talk about a little more later on, I realized all the things that, that brings. Like there's huge production potential. Urban farming makes it easier for folks to buy local. It's good for the city's ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Urban farming helps to rebuild neighborhoods and improve aesthetics. Coincidentally, it does things like help reduce crime. It promotes community cohesion, creates jobs, and community gardening projects can increase social bonds and foster stronger networks between neighbors. Next slide, please.
All those things are so important, especially in Buffalo's revitalization.
Absolutely. It has a major impact on climate change. When we grow in our local neighborhoods, we reduce our carbon footprints tremendously. It exposes people of color to agricultural opportunities, both in education and letting folks know what career possibilities there are. It eradicates the stigma of farming and being close to the land for people of color by showing and by being able to have conversations around understanding that the trauma that African Americans experienced in relation to the land came from our fellow man and not the land. Mm-hmm. And that may sound kind of like, wouldn't you know that? But it really is not. It's a really hard stigma to get past. And of all the things that urban farming does, and like I said, my initial intent was to bring access in underserved communities, but I found that working to eradicate this stigma could be just as important.
It's going to help change a generation. We need more young people farming because our farmers are aging out and the demand for food is going up. But I think making the food closer to where we live is the future, especially when we have to create a more sustainable world for tomorrow. So
Absolutely. You're so right, Emmy. Next slide, please. So how did we get started? We took 4 prior vacant city lots, and we were fortunate enough to have the wonderful students and faculty from some of our most prestigious schools help us build the farm. They, were there on the ground when nothing was there, and the students were so excited, and they were amazing. They really were. So this is just a picture of when there was nothing there, and the students came with just the boards to build the raised beds. Next slide, please. And as you can see, throughout the day, we're working, building beds, filling them with soil, and starting the farm. And this was back in 2015.
Wow. And I was going to say, those beds are still standing strong.
They are.
How
They
old
are.
were the kids that helped?
These were
okay.
sophomore to seniors from,
okay.
Yeah, I know.
And their
and their faculty. They have a beautiful community involvement program and I feel so bad. I'm picturing the school. It's on Colvin and Amherst, and the name I cannot even believe I can't remember the name of the school, but it'll come to me before we end, because I want to give them their credit where credit is due, because they really helped us out. Next slide, please. So again, like I spoke about, this having urban farms creates jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates jobs where folks never thought, they might want to work or be able to work. So the jobs that we create are farm manager, farm assistant, farmers market assistant, farmers market manager, and then we have lots of students who volunteer with us. We did a program with Buffalo Urban League, and when we first started, we used to get volunteers from the Buffalo Halfway House, which was located down the street on Glenwood. And what would happen is when folks were re-entering society, and looking for jobs, they had to do community service. So in between that time, they would come down and work with us. And, I could count on my hand the number of issues we had, but for the most part, the gentlemen who worked with us they were amazing. A lot of them would say, my mother used to make me do this with her in our backyard.
Yeah, that's how I was as a gardener. I was my grandmother's tag along.
Right. and all those memories come up, and they tap into those skills. And so for, I think, like 2-3 years, they helped us. And then the halfway house was closed down.
Okay.
And no more. But I'm grateful for the time that we had and the assistance that they gave us to really give the farm a strong start.
Yeah, and not only that, but gardening has such a deep therapeutic effect on, and I'm sure it was such a refuge for the women or the kids that were in that halfway house to have that work. As whenever people tell me they're stressed, they're going through some life issues, I say, go to the garden, go start a garden, go weed. I'm promise.
Absolutely.
It has a deeper effect on us.
And they would say that, like, they were so happy to be outside, something that we take for granted, that, when you're incarcerated, your outside activity is extremely limited, and
Yeah.
they got to spend the entire day outside. So it was, it was really great for them.
Being their own boss too, doing the work
Yeah,
that they saw and observed and directing themselves. That's
right.
another piece of freedom, that the autonomy, you know.
Absolutely. And then I was even able to write some letters of recommendation for some of the
Oh,
gentlemen as they, were looking to get hired. So I was very happy to be able to do that for
oh,
them.
that's awesome. And I was going to say, in this picture, I see Bynum Brothers on the truck. That's a small construction company here in Buffalo. Were they partnering with you? Were they volunteering, sponsoring?
So we couldn't do a lot of the things we do without Bynum Brothers.
Wow.
So Bynum Brothers takes us out every year to Eden, to an organic dairy farm where we get all of our fertilizer.
Oh,
They
wow.
actually set it
Cool.
aside for us. I know. And it
That's so
used to be,
cool.
it used to be like way in the back of their farm. And the gentleman who owns the farm, he's a retired physician. He's moved it up, and so that it's easier for us to get this big dump truck down there, and loaded and off of their property to head back to
Mhm.
Buffalo.
No, and again, thinking about sustainability, you're incorporating waste from a local business and using that as your organic fertilizer to
Yeah,
help grow this food to nourish our bodies and heal our minds. That's so
yeah,
beautiful. That's such
yeah.
a holistic approach. So,
Yeah, it is. It's, we really, it was important to me not to use chemical pesticides, and to make sure that when I come into underserved communities, that we don't do any harm, that we
yes.
uplift and make the space better. And that's one of the things that is important, because it really would have been easier to just maybe till the land a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
start, throwing some
Mm-hmm.
seeds in. But then I would have always had to have the concern about, what's happening with that soil. Soil
Yeah.
is not forgiving.
Yes. Yes.
And it really, it could take, I went to a presentation by a wonderful woman from India. She goes around the globe talking about soil and how we as humans have and continue to not be good stewards of our soil. And so, that's the best that we can do, is go to Eden, where they have beautiful soil,
Yeah.
beautiful farm country, and bring it into the city for our folks.
No, totally. And the manure will help feed your soil microbes too and keep your populations up, add the organic matter, which improves soil quality over time. I'm a bit of a soil nerd, so
Well, you know
all that
what?
speaks to me.
Soil, first of all, I didn't know there was such a thing as soil scientists, and I didn't know how many folks, are educated and work tirelessly to educate the rest of us about healthy soil and what that means. So
Yeah.
it is, to say that you're a bit of a soil nerd. I'm envious, and I want to be one too.
Well, it's a forgotten thing, and it's where the other half of our plants live, and when especially when we're talking about having healthy food, you have to have living healthy soils. And if we're thinking about, protecting our water, protecting our air quality, soil has got to be a component. It's the third piece to the triangle of having a safe and an environment that can provide us all those things, those ecosystem services that we need to have quality life and ensure our health of our children, and to have healthy food to nourish our bodies. So yeah, soil for me is especially, and it's fascinating the amount of life in just a teaspoon of healthy living organic soils. It's incredible,
Right.
organisms by the billions, and it's just like, what? it reminds me of Horton Hears a Who, where there's this little
Oh,
microscopic
yes.
thing on the dandelion plant. Like,
Right.
it's the unseen, and it's important.
It
So.
is. And so I am the chair of the Buffalo and Erie County Food Policy Council. And one of the things that the Food Policy Council is set up to do is hear any issues that folks in the county or the city may be experiencing. And so there was a little bit of question around urban farms from some residents. So out of that question, the urban growers came together and we created an Buffalo's urban grower pledge. We created a pledge, and part of what we have pledged to do as urban growers is police ourselves. And we started with the soil. So Grassroots Gardens, Massachusetts Avenue Project, Urban Fruits and Veggies, and a whole host of other urban growers. We just sent our soil samples out for review, and we will keep those records on file so that if there are any consumers who say, how do I know that you know what you're doing? And how do I know that what you're growing in is safe for me to eat? And those are all good questions, because we should be questioning where our food comes from and how it's grown. So we're all really excited to get our soil samples back and find out, where we are on the spectrum of great to needs a little improvement. And we'll have those records for consumers, for ourselves. If there's anything that we need to change or improve, we can do that.
Well, that's awesome. And it's good to know your status.
Yes. Next slide, please. So selling local produce. We all know that for quite a while, when organic produce started to become popular, there was just a lot of talk around folks who were having challenges affording organic produce, even for folks who have good jobs, two-income households. If you have a family of 4 or 5 or 6, it is difficult to always buy organic. So I was on a call with, and Wegmans was on the call the other day, and they've actually seen the demand for organic produce go down and the demand for local produce go up. So that's very encouraging. And while it's encouraging, it also makes us know that at the local level that we need to be on top of our game, because we want that demand to remain constant and even grow. And the way to do that is to make sure that we're putting out a quality product on a consistent basis.
Absolutely. And the photos you have here, the produce just looks beautiful. Now, is that stuff that your farm has grown?
Yeah, so we have some beautiful, this is a mustard green, the purple, it's a mustard green, but it has a peppery taste. Ooh. So it's great on salad. You don't even have to cook it. It's just something that you wash, chop up, and throw on top of a salad or on top of a stir fry, and it gives it that extra kick for those of us who like spicy
it's
meals.
Really beautiful.
I know. So many of my customers would say, I don't want to cook it, I just want to put it on my table and look at it.
Throw it into a few sprigs in a bouquet.
Yes, yeah. Awesome. And then we have some radishes, which radishes, they go at certain markets. The demand is ebbs and flows for radishes. People either love them or don't have any idea what to do with them. And those have a yeah, and they're great in salads, but that's just, it's a preference, and also an education, which both of these crops were a total education piece. So every year we try to introduce a new crop to the community and our markets. So this was last year, the mustard green. And, you know, folks really, after they tried it, of course, there was always, I've never seen it, I've never had it, I don't want to try it. But
I've
once
never
folks,
seen anything like it in the grocery store before.
you know what, you have, it is mixed in with your salad mix. Next time, even if you,
Is it in the mescaline mix?
yes, even if
Okay,
you
okay.
don't buy it, if you look closely in the bag, next time you'll see it.
Okay. Okay.
They
I'll have to
just
look
don't,
for it.
they just don't sell it on its own like we did. We harvested and bunched it and sold it as in bunches. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
but look closely, it's there. And then the last photo is of our butterhead bib lettuce.
That's my favorite.
Yes.
Sweet, crisp,
Yes.
fresh. Oh my goodness.
Yep. So, okay, yeah, next slide, please. So I mentioned why urban farming is important and talking about rebuilding neighborhoods and improving aesthetics. So the very first farm manager that I had, she called herself a flower girl. And she did these beautiful flower arrangements on her own. Like she just, that's what she does on her own. She's just
Oh,
so good
wow.
at it. And so this triangle of flowers is kind of like our signature that we have in front of all of our raised beds. And over the years, folks would stop and say, you know, I don't have to come this way to go home, but I come by to see the flowers and look
Make
and
it
see
part of
how
their
things are
route.
growing.
No, and
And
I've seen it, and it's such a beautiful focal because it's right there, and then behind it, you know, like you said, you have your food growing, and it's a great way to include pollinators into that space too.
yes, yes, you are a nerd, Emmy.
Self-proclaimed. No, but I am.
It's so awesome. That's so awesome. Yes. So we always have flowers, and sometimes if I'm at Wegmans or at Target and someone sees me and like the flowers are taking a while, there people will say, where are the flowers? I drove by, no flowers.
We're
So it
waiting.
really does have an impact on the neighborhood. And I wasn't prepared for that. And it just kind of happened without thought. We get folks who come by, and if you can see in the back, our canna lilies that are growing behind the flowers. We actually have, like, we get tons of bulbs. We have tons of bulbs. And so sometimes some of the neighbors will come by and say, where can I get that? And we'll just give them some bulbs. They can take 2 or 3 to
Oh,
their
the
house.
canna lily is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So it's become like for the neighborhood and for folks who, you know, are making their way to incorporating more plants into their diet. This part is very important to them. And people walk by and they stop and they blow the horn and they yell out, "It's so beautiful," and things like that. So yeah, so it's really, really nice. It really does change that space, because prior to this, it was just a space for folks to litter.
Mm-hmm.
We still do get litter, but we clean it up every day. So it
I'm
does
sure
have an
even
impact.
that becomes less, and it slows down traffic too, because I know a lot of that's a 4-way stop sign there, and a lot of
Yes.
people will blow the stop signs in the smaller neighborhoods where it's off, you know, you don't think the cops are patrolling. So it also brings that safety aspect too that gets overlooked a lot. So
Absolutely. And the neighbors, like when we were building, they let us use their electricity. And so the gentleman who lives there, he loves peaches. So every year I just like shower him with peaches. Sometimes he's like, no, 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 I'm good. I'm good.
that's so cool.
Next slide, please. So, educating the community about what we do and why it's so important to try to incorporate plants into your diet, and just talking to folks about the direct correlation between what you eat and a lot of the diet-related diseases, and just having those, you know, spirited conversations at the point of sale, and having repeat folks year after year talk to us and, you know, tell us how they're you know, they're working on incorporating more plants into their diet. For some folks it's an easier process than others. We have been so you know, we've just been taught that if you don't have meat in your diet, then you might perish. And folks don't understand a lot of times that you can get protein, even more protein, from plants than you can get from eating meat. So we don't like to food shame, and we don't want to meat shame anyone. It's a process, and it's an individual process, and it's a family decision for each person. We just like to give out the information as expertly as we possibly can.
And I think that conversation also sparks, you know, a lot of times, even I remember as a kid, you know, vegetables were the small side at the corner of my cafeteria tray.
Right.
And if you like to cook and you enjoy cooking meats, you can begin to season things like you would a meat, marinate your vegetables, saute them really nice, grill them. I love grilling vegetables. And then, you know, making that the focal part of your meal, the main portion, and having a small side of meat. Or even I have meatless days in my family where we just do an all plant-based day and some grains as well. But it's, if you enjoy cooking, like, take on the challenge, because it's the best thing for our planet. A lot of thing that people overlook is that, you know, the off-gassing and the increased CO2, the increased methane that comes from large meat operations, the way things are butchered, and the mass producing of farms are being lost, especially when you're talking about like rearing cattle and stuff, and the waste that comes from those too. The fact that you get to incorporate those things from a local place into your operation is awesome. But, you know, I invite everybody to eat more vegetables, have an all veg or a plant-based day, or more than one day out of your weekly schedule. And the savings is there. Meat costs a lot more,
It does.
you know, so, and it costs our health too over time. So the high saturated fats that are in meats are not heart healthy. So
No,
um,
you're right. And you know, you can get a bag of beans, lentils, black-eyed peas, split peas. You can get all those so inexpensive, and they really are filling. And there are a variety of ways to prepare them. And if you have legumes, beans, along with a big healthy plate of vegetables, your body has everything it needs. That's a highly nutrient dense meal, and you're not going to get anything healthier or better for your body. And I think sometimes folks don't understand that our bodies are always looking to grab the nutrients out of whatever we put into our mouths. And when our body doesn't get the nutrients, it thinks it's still hungry because it's searching for nutrients. And so that can spark overeating at times, because your
wow.
body is just craving what it needs to survive, and we give it everything else but that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that reminds me. I recently heard a statement about the country we live in, that we're overfed and malnourished at the same
Yes.
time. And eating locally is the best way to get the most nutrient packed vegetables, because right over time the nutrition kind of goes down the older or the further it travels to get to your plate. So you're getting a more nutrient packed diet. But I also, when I eat my plant-based day, I just feel lighter that day, and like I have
Absolutely.
more energy, and, you know, I don't have that
Right.
itis after I eat where I gotta go take a
Right.
nap,
If
you know.
yep, if you
But
feel like
food, you know, it really affects how you feel and your energy, your
it's
focus
true.
too. I find if I eat a bowl of cereal versus like an omelet with a lot of veggies, like my brain, just my whole day unravels much better. So
Right.
goes
Right.
better. I
You
get more
shouldn't feel like
done.
you need a nap after you eat. If you feel that way, then you know you've eaten all of the wrong things. So
Listen to your body.
exactly. No,
Yeah.
it's so true. People have asked me like, should I do a cleanse? Should I do this? And I'm like, you just need to change your diet. There's no special potion that you should need to buy. You
Mhm.
know, if you're feeling like your digestive system isn't working properly, just sit down and take account of what you've been eating, and you will likely find the culprit. And then there is an easy solution if you change what you're eating. Things like juicing, celeries, carrots, making smoothies, all those things kickstart our digestive system. Starting your day off with lemon water, things like that can help get your digestive system on track, because it should work without any assistance. Like, our bodies are amazing. They don't need us to think through like a lot of things to help it work.
Yeah. The system is there. We just have to feed
Treat it
it
well.
properly. Put in the
Exactly.
right fuel.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Next slide, please. So our growth over time. Like I explained, we started off just thinking we were going to provide access. We partnered with the Community Health Centers of Buffalo, which is our only federally funded clinic in the area. And the executive director there is just an amazing woman, Dr. Ansari. She truly cares about her patients and wants them to be healthy. And as we know, a lot of times, if I'm not feeling well and I go back to the doctor and I go back 3 or 4 times for one ailment, you know, that's 3 or 4 times the physician's office has been able to charge to treat me. So I went around for an entire year to clinics and spoke with physicians about starting a fruits and vegetables prescription program. And everywhere I went, everyone told me, oh, yeah, that sounds great, but we don't have any money for that. Nope, sounds wonderful. Oh, yeah, you should do it. We don't have any money for that. So when I went to Dr. Ansari, I sat down, and by this time, I'm a little worn out, a little frustrated because this program's not getting any traction. And I start talking to her, and she like interrupts me maybe not even 2 minutes in, and she calls in her finance person and she tells me to continue, and she says, we just need to figure out a way to make this happen. That was 4 years ago.
Wow.
So we've been working together, and the patients and the staff who utilize the fruits and vegetables prescription are they just want more. They want more recipes. They want more wellness events, because we try to do a wellness event at the start of the season and one to close the season. And they want more interactive cooking classes. They want more. So of course that, you know, and that's expensive.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate enough this year to get a grant to build a teaching greenhouse right on the property. So we're going to be able to show folks how to start to grow some things at home. And the biggest thing that I'm hoping that comes out of this is that when seasoned physicians and graduate students come there to intern, they can come into the teaching greenhouse, and we can have those conversations about food as medicine. And we can create a space where doctors and patients incorporate, what are you eating? You know, are you able to get fresh food? all those types of conversations that sometimes get left out of the equation. And hopefully we can bring that to the forefront and maybe mitigate some of the medications that folks need, and maybe help folks who, like, you know, if they get their A1C numbers down, maybe they can get off of their diabetic medication. If they're struggling with, you know, trying to lose weight, you know, showing a consistent change in diet can hopefully help them with those challenges. So we're so excited about the growth of our fruits and vegetables prescription program. It's taken 4 years, but we're making strides. So.
Oh, and that's incredible. I've heard about things like this on NPR, and it's just so exciting that this is happening right here in Buffalo. But do you have to be a patient at that office to join it, or are you able to join if you are outside of that medical network?
So the way we have it is that it's subsidized for the patients at that
Okay.
clinic.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's like the key to the program. That's the hook. That's going to keep folks coming back consistently and letting them see that, oh, I need more. You know, yeah, I love all these vegetables, but I want recipes, and I want a recipe every week. You know, those are the things we want them to say. It's a matter of being able to afford to provide all that. So I'm hoping that we can, you know, spread this to other clinics. And what I tell people who do not get their medical care at the community health centers of Buffalo, I say, when you go to your doctor, ask them.
Yeah.
You
I've
know,
never had my doctor ask me what am I eating? You know, what
I know, me neither.
never. Or I have underlying conditions, and I'm fortunate I'm able to modify my diet, my lifestyle choices, so I don't have to take medical or medication for it. But I wish that was part of the conversation I got to have with my doctor, because it's not, but we are what we eat, you know, and
Right.
getting people to think more about what they're consuming and incorporating it. I feel like my insurance will offer me a rebate for going to the gym 50 times in the 6-month period. Like, I feel like this has so much potential to end up being something like that, where you get a rebate for it, or something with that.
Oh yeah, trust me.
Amazing.
I'm constantly talking to them about it. Now,
Okay.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield, like if you have the plan where you have the Flex card, you
Mm-hmm.
can use that card with Urban Fruits and Veggies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was great. The issue is not a lot of people. That's like probably like the Cadillac plan.
Okay. Or people have
So
like an ACH.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you know, trying to get the health carriers to understand that this is going to potentially reduce your claims.
Yes.
And I was in insurance in my past career, and I know that insurance companies, they want to collect premiums. They don't want to pay claims. That's not
Keep the
what
money.
the game is all about.
Yeah. No, totally. I think this
Right.
is huge potential, and I want to join. Like, I gotta look
I
into joining
know.
this office so I can get some of the vegetables. They're not, buying organic, like you said earlier. It's not cheap,
Right.
but we all should be able to access food that makes us healthy, not makes us sick. Um,
Exactly.
so no, this is incredible, Allison. Oh my
Well,
gosh,
thank you.
I'm just blown
Thanks.
away. Blown away.
So yeah, and we have a program this year with CAS Recovery Services. The management at CAS, like, they just realize how important gardening is in a person's recovery, and they realize that sometimes during that recovery period, folks substitute sugar and salt because, you know, we all know they're very addictive. And a lot of the snacks that we love are made in food factories, and the smells and the little added things that they put in literally trigger your body to say, I need more of that. Like, that it's a
Eat it
joke.
compulsively.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the Lay's potato chips, like that is literally, you cannot eat one. And it's not just Lay's, it's like a whole bunch of things. So we're doing nutrition education, gardening classes they have 9 beautiful locations throughout Western New York. And so we're helping those folks with some gardening and with some nutrition education. So every year we grow and expand, and yeah, it's great. It's growing into something that's almost like out of my control, but it's okay.
That's a beautiful problem to have.
Yeah, it is. Next slide, please. So again, there has been such a stigma about farming and being close to the land, and its direct relationship to slavery and sharecropping. And so letting folks know that it's okay to be close to the land. It's okay to have your hands in soil and dirt. It's actually good for the soul and good for the body, like you were talking about earlier, when folks that you care about who are stressed and you give them that advice. So for African Americans, that has been like a no. The Great Migration was part of, our people wanting to get as far away from farming and sharecropping as possible, just because of, like I said, the stigma. So trying to educate young folks to understand that we have to shed that and understand our connection to the land and what we brought to this country, that we farmed and fed the entire country for years and years and years and years. And it really is part of our expertise, and that the industry was pretty much hijacked from us. And there's nothing wrong with getting back into farming and being close to the land.
Totally. It's in the genetic memory.
Yes. Next slide, please. So every year we do the mayor's senior farmers market, where we pack, I think last year we did about 700 bags, and Tesla had volunteers come and help us pack the bags. And then they brought the Tesla cars and we delivered the produce to 700 seniors throughout the city of Buffalo.
Wow, that is so cool. And the trunk
Yeah.
was in the front.
I know.
That was the first thing. I'm like, the bags are coming out. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Next slide, please. So now we have greenhouses. So this is our very first greenhouse that was being constructed. We got a really late start and we had to put it up in the snow, but it's wonderful to have a greenhouse. It extends our season, and we kind of have like a sheltered home base now. So this is one, and we have 6 more going up at our second location.
And I was going to say,
Next
can
slide,
you
please.
highlight where this one is?
Sure. So this one is across the street from the current location where we have the raised beds. And then the other 6 are at our new location, which is at Zenner and Ferry. And that location is part of the Bailey Green Initiative. Harmac Medical Products, which is a huge employer located right on Bailey and Genesee. That is their headquarters. And so they have folks coming from all over the world because they make medical products that, they don't put their name on it. They sell them to like Johnson & Johnson and places like that. So They have a location in Ireland and a location in in Mexico. So, like I said, they have folks coming from all over the world, and the neighborhood was, not the best. So they decided, instead of moving, that they would try to revitalize the neighborhood, and they would enlist stakeholders to do that very thing with them. And so we are one of the stakeholders, and we are going to build not only soil-based greenhouses, but we'll do some hydroponics as well.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so neat. I love it.
Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about COVID. And this is in that space, that new space on Zenner and Ferry. So when COVID hit, we were getting calls for food, and we never really have food in March. So what could we do? What could we do to help? What could we do? So the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, has a program where they have food box giveaways. So we started to get the food boxes and take them into neighborhoods where we know it's necessary to have, where folks are struggling with food. Something that's happening is there are so many grandparents who now are left to take care of their grandchildren, and they have to be fed 3 times a day. So it is a huge burden on so many families. So we have been distributing, so far we've distributed, like, I think over almost $70,000 worth of produce and over like 2,000 boxes. So this was our little team that we organized to drive around the Bailey Green neighborhood, which there's 4 streets, and part of Bailey and part of Ferry, to deliver boxes to folks. We just put them on their porches and left, no questions asked.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a second one. We did that one in June. We'll do a second one in August. Folks were really appreciative, but COVID has really exposed how delicate our food system is, our national food system is, and how we need to strengthen our local food system. And our area has really risen to the challenge. The Erie County Health Department has a COVID task force that we're a part of, and there's just a lot of little, we're gonna try to work on a regional food system that would encompass all 9 counties of our area, so that we can, if this were to happen again, and scientists and medical professionals are saying that this may happen again, we can maybe have a system in place that we can trigger right away to make sure that folks aren't suffering and they're getting food.
That's really powerful. And with the food boxes that you delivered, was it like, were you targeting a specific area of the city? Did people have to sign up, or was it just kind of like a broadcasting of the resource?
So yeah, this was the Bailey Green neighborhood. So we did 125 families on 4 streets. So we just drove around. Yeah, they didn't have to sign up, but Harmac Medical Products did put out flyers and let folks know that on this day at this time you will be receiving a box. So yeah.
Incredible.
Next slide, please. So our vision for the future, that same space, what we want to do, like I said, is have more greenhouses and then create a wellness center. So the wellness center would be in partnership with Community Health Centers of Buffalo, and we wouldn't duplicate clinical services. We would provide holistic services. So things like yoga, cooking and nutrition classes, places for people to work out, places to get like small services. Like if you're feeling like, oh, my blood pressure might be elevated, they can come in and get a quick blood pressure check. And maybe you're fine, maybe you're not. And we would refer folks. So it would be a place that you can come if you have an issue, but also a place for preventative measures as well.
That's really incredible. People are gonna get in control of their health, and that will be a step before they can go to the doctor. I don't like going to the doctor. I go when I have to, but having a place like that where I can go take care of myself would be incredible. So
yeah, so that's like that's our huge vision. That's like our pie in the sky. And we have an amazing team of amazing advisory board who's working on fundraising. And if you go to the next slide, please, so I can show that fundraising and figuring out how to, that's a hydroponic slide. So next slide, please. And so this isn't a great picture, but this is a drawing. And on the one side are the greenhouses, and across the street is where the wellness center would be. And it's in that space where you saw all of us on the COVID response. It's in that space.
Awesome. And then you're also going to have raised beds for growing outside too. Okay. And then I have a question for you for your farm. Do you guys start your seeds that you sow, or do you do direct sowing for a lot of things? Or?
So we start our seeds and we do direct sow. So we do both. Yep.
Very cool.
Yep. So, that's really it. If anyone has any questions, next slide, please. My contact information is there. And feel free to reach out, email, or call at any time with anything that anyone might want to know. And if you go to our website, our schedule of where we'll be throughout the season is listed.
Allison, this has been such a pleasure. It's such an enlightening experience speaking with you and hearing about all the amazing work and the projects you have in the works to uplift and heal our community. And I think nutrition and food is primary to healing our communities and creating jobs. I mean, there's just so much good that started from such a small objective.
It's so true. This wasn't my intent. I can't take credit for it.
Yeah, but look at how it's all unfolding. This is just, it's so, what our small ideas create larger branching effect, and your experience and the movement that you're growing here in Buffalo. This is absolutely fabulous.
Thank you so much, Emmy.